Morning, welcome back to a frosty but lovely morning. The birds are tweeting, obviously under the miscellaneous impression that it's spring. Well, as you can see behind me, a F-load of wood has just arrived, and Stephen's sawmill and wood shop is about to open up again. Just like the cupboards, I'm going to take the opportunity of the nice weather to cut this down. This is all for the solar boxes, which I've mentioned in the previous videos. It's one of those things that's been weighing over me for a while, because I know that it's not particularly pleasant don't usually like cutting up big pieces of wood, but it has to be done, so it'll be great to get it over with. I was quite pleasantly surprised when it arrived, actually. I bought this from a wood merchant called Bartley Timber, just north of Leicester, and the price was it's actually a bit thicker than I would have bought, but I thought, well, that's not a bad thing, and the price was significantly less than the builders merchants in Market Harborough, and it's actually decent quality. It's it's planed all round timber, and it's I say decent quality, I'm no expert, but it certainly looks as good as stuff that I paid a fortune for from Travis Perkins. Not this was particularly cheap, because wood isn't these days. However, I've subjected to quite enough shots of me sitting there with the table saw and the chop saw, so I won't take any video until there's something to see. So I've ended up cutting these with the piece of wood and the circular saw. Basically, the wood is too big for the chop saw, which was the kind of thing I was thinking I was going to use. However, on the upside, it's probably actually slightly more accurate doing it this way, because I can measure an exact line and try, rather than manhandling these huge pieces of wood in the chop saw. It's slightly easier, though a bit tedious having to set up the piece of wood every single time. Well, after an entire afternoon and another couple of hours the next day, I've finally finished cutting all the pieces to length. Long way to go yet, though. So one of those unexpected detours. Next step was in the boxes was to cut the curve from to make that template. However, the problem was that because the wood is a bit thicker than I thought, it's far too thick for the depth I can get the root of it. So I thought, well, at least it's not complete waste. I can use the template to help guide the jigsaw through. Problem is, I needed to put a new blade into the jigsaw, and this that holds the jigsaw. This is the jigsaw part. It's been on the fritz for a long time, to be honest, but it won't grip the blade now, which is useless. And I've coated it liberally in WD-40. That hasn't worked. I can actually get a new piece of one of these for about £20, but from what I can see, I could buy a brand new one for £25. So it's kind of, well, as usual, these spare parts, it's a bit ridiculous. I'm not sure what I'll do, because I'm going to need a jigsaw point forward, so I will need one that's working. I'll have a bit more of a fiddle with this, see if I can get it working, but if not, this will have to be abandoned for the rest of the day, and I'm not going to go into Market Harborough especially for a jigsaw, but I will get one over the weekend maybe. Afternoon. Well, while I'm waiting for the replacement jigsaw, which, by the way, so I'd got the model mixed up, and the new one wasn't £5 more than the part. The new one was considerably more, so I ordered a replacement lifter rod for the jigsaw. So that will come in some days, I guess. It hasn't been dispatched yet. So meanwhile, I'm jigsawless, and I'm trying to find some other stuff to do. So what I thought I would do is the wood here down the side, because it's on the side with the angle, I need to basically make a slight bevel, and the idea was to use the table saw, which has got a bevel guide, and just set it up and run it through, which would be nice and easy. However, the angle is about 10 degrees, and the minimum angle that does is 15, which is the problem I came across when I was doing the roof light. To be honest, I should have remembered from that. So I had to pull out the trusty circular saw again, and this one you can change. It goes up to 45 degrees. So I've set that at a 10-degree angle, and some guide pieces of wood, and running along. This other one's just to make sure to keep the saw level, and touch wood, which there's plenty of it. It's working okay. It's just a bit tedious. I mean, now I've worked out the measurements is okay, but it's a bit boring, I have to say. And I've got 12 of these in total. I think this is my third one, so I better keep plugging on. Morning. Well, as the line goes, now for something completely different. Yeah, I know you think, yes, yet another workfront opening. But what it is I'm about to go, it's my father's birthday this month, and so I'm about to go and visit him in a couple of hours. And conversely, also at the same time, the temperature's warmed up slightly, and it's now 12 degrees in the boat. And the primer's minimum temperature is 10 degrees. So what I want to do is, within the next few weeks, I really want to install the pipes for the heating. And it would be great if the area underneath the pipes was actually had some paint on, because then you won't have to faff around trying to paint behind the pipes. So as I'm going away, and as I've got a couple of hours, I thought I will try and paint just the part under the gunnels that's about, it's probably about 5 metres, and put some primer on. And the thing is that I'm leaving then in a couple of hours, and so it'll have a couple of nights to dry off and the smell to dissipate, so I won't be sleeping in the place where all the paint is. That's the plan anyway. The paint pack says that it's, you know, as usual, I bought this quite a while ago, thinking that I would be using it much sooner than I did. And the pack says protect from frost. Now, I know for a fact, if you remember the frozen plywood, that the container did get frosty. So let's hope that after a very good stir, it's certainly separated. So after a good stir, that it's usable, because it was expensive. Well, it's taken quite a lot of stirring, but it's starting to look like paint rather than curds and whey. So fingers crossed that it will be okay. I mean, from what I'm guessing, it's just a version of UPV. Well, it's acrylic, but you know, it's just like glue. So hopefully the chemical properties won't be too spoiled. I think that will do. And the good thing is it's a relatively small area, so if it's total disaster, it's well, I'll have to give up and get some new stuff, but at least we won't have painted half the ceiling. Well, that wasn't too bad. The only thing is, with white paint, it's the first coat's, you know, it's good because it's a transformation, and for the rest of them, it's just downhill from here because it, you know, doesn't look that much different. Anywho, that's the first coat on. As it's only just above the minimum temperature, it's going to take a while to dry, and I need to head off, so I'll have to wait until I get back for coat number 2. Happily, because it's water-based, it's actually not. It's not particularly, you know, obnoxious, the smell. So, you know, even living in here, it'll be fine. So, yeah. Anyway, one less thing to do. Well, like I mentioned, I'm visiting my father this weekend, and he lives in Staffordshire, and Staffordshire also has the potteries, well, used to, kind of. Anyway, there is one place where it still makes tiles, and I thought I'd just call into the factory shop, because I thought it'd be nice to get some British-made tiles if I can. They haven't actually got what I saw online, because it's apparently a different warehouse, but they do have something very similar, and was actually a bit cheaper than I budgeted for, which is not bad. So at the price, I will take it, and hopefully it will work. So that's quite a good result. I was also, while I was visiting my father, able to finally get a sheet of Hexagrip stroke buffalo board, which I've been searching for ages, and could find, and it's about £70, but everywhere I found it was it's also £70 delivery, so it was great to be able to pick it up. I paid for a cut so I could just get it into the car, but while I'm not going to use it right away, it's one less thing to tick off the shopping list, which is very good. So all in all, as well as lovely to see my father and my stepmother, it was a useful trip boat-wise. Well, it's an absolutely lovely afternoon. An afternoon for sitting on the bow deck with a cup of tea. But as I know the forecast, we've got one nice day and then it's rain. I feel obliged, you know, there's a couple of hours left of the day to actually do something. So, although I don't really start anything complicated, so I'll do a bit of light sanding, as it were. Morning on a very freezing fog type morning, which it should have burnt off by now, but alas it hasn't. The sun hopefully will break through at some point. Anyway, so yesterday I ended up with a bit of a detour. I was happily is not the word, but I was getting on with the sanding, and Dave here at the boatyard came past, and in a helpful, not told you so way, he was like, I wouldn't try to do that you're doing with an orbital sander. What you want is a belt sander, and he was absolutely right. However, I had a quick look online, and they were pretty pricey. But then he also said, as we were chatting, so I think Lidl have them in their weekly middle of Lidl offers, and I had a look, and sure enough, they did. So I dropped everything, and despite having done all my shopping, everything for the day, and I was here for the duration, I raced down to Market Harborough, and happily they had one on the shelf. So I've got that. I've just set it up. Annoyingly, just on a sidebar, I'd about 30 minutes before put a big tool station order in for delivery. So I didn't have to go to Market Harborough. I ended up going to Tool Station anyway to get some sanding belts for the new toy. Not the downside, but the frustration is then this morning I've got my update from Tool Station, and my parcel has been delivered by Every / Hermes, which means I will see it not next day, not today like it's supposed to be, no doubt, but it will be Friday or Thursday whenever the courier deigns to drive over here. And as I went to Tool Station, I just got the damn stuff straight from the bloody depot. Anyway, doesn't really matter because I'm still waiting for Bosch to send me the spare parts. Again, they haven't. Something else hasn't quite delivered. No pun intended, as suspected. So I can only really get on with the sanding anyway. So yeah, it said this is never used one of these before, but it's a new toy. I just had a momentary go. It's quite different, but yeah, it's much better. Obviously, much better for doing long linear pieces. So. A worthwhile investment for not so much money, I hope. Well, that's taken all day. And I can't say it was a joy, but I wouldn't be able to do it without the belt sander. So wonderful. And meanwhile, the part for the jigsaw's arrived. Alas, of course, as expected, the delivery from Tool Station has not. I've got the notification from Every saying there's been an issue with your parcel. We will deliver it as soon as possible, which you get every time when you get something with Every. So I can't do any sawing anyway. However, good, got that out of the way. It's raining for the next few days, so I wanted to get that done while the sun shines, as it were, because you can see I'm absolutely covered in dust now, so much better to do this outside. Morning. Right, well, I've just been trying to put the new arm on the jigsaw, and I have to confess, it's been an absolute nightmare. When I came to take the old one out, it was easy. I just pulled it out. It was quite easy. However, putting it in, the motor got dislodged, and trying to put it back became an absolute nightmare. I couldn't get the motor in, but after and while I was doing so, what I did is see this tiny spring here that holds the carbon brushes in. Well, the one down there, I basically knocked that one off, and I don't know if you can see. And I was at that point, I was in tears because, well, I wasn't in tears, but I was metaphorically near tears. Because that's basically the thing ruined, and I was facing the prospect of having to drive back to Market Harborough and buy a brand new jigsaw. However, I calm myself down a bit, as it were, and what I've managed to do is, I don't know if you can see it, I've basically got a tiny screw which has replaced the tiny piece of plastic in there. Now you can't see it, but anyway, there's a tiny screw in there, and hopefully the spring is back there, the bush is back there. I will put this thing together and cross fingers it actually works. Okay, well, somewhat later than anticipated, thanks to that faffing around trying to mend the jigsaw, which happily did work. And Tool Station, well, Hermes are finally delivered last night, so I have the blades. So the idea is to cut the curves for the end pieces. and I'm going to use the template that I did for the router, which because the wood is so thick I can't use. I'm hoping that it will act as a sort of guide for the jigsaw instead and help me get a curve. If it's not perfect, it really doesn't matter too much. Maybe apart from the very front and the very end ones. Otherwise, nobody's actually going to see these. Well, it's turned into quite a nightmare. No matter how hard I try, I think this is the third one. You know, the doing the curve, the blade starts to wander, and because it's quite long and flexible, it, you know, depending on where the wood grain is wanting it to go, it will then go off an angle. So, I mean, these are, like I said, these are basically outdoor planters. It's not cabinets, but even so, I'm thinking I might have to have another think about how I do this. But that'll be for another episode, because as always I've got more material than I can use, so I will stop there, and thanks for watching, and see you next time.